Hello, what's up guys, and today I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be doing another scenario from Kubernetes Goat, and it is called RBAC, Least Privileges Misconfiguration. So let's get into it. First, if you don't know what RBAC is basically a method of restricting network access between basically based on roles of the individual user. The roles can also be applied to individual groups. So yeah, so in so in the overview, so basically in the early days of Kubernetes, there was no such concept as RBAC, role-based access control, and mostly it used ABAC, which was attribute-based access control. And now it has superpowers like RBAC to implement the security principle of least privilege. Still, most of real-world workloads and resources end up having wider privileges than it is intended to have. In this scenario, we'll see how this simple misconfiguration like this can gain access to secrets, more resources, and information. So, what it's saying is that like these simple misconfigurations, when some users or groups have more privileges than they're supposed to or like are meant to, it can lead to them having access to all sort of stuff. So it can make them gain access to secrets, more resources, and basically information which they don't really need for their work. So by the end of the scenario, we will understand and learn the following. We will learn accessing and talking to Kubernetes API server using the REST API, working with different Kubernetes resources and querying them, exploiting the misconfigured, overly permissive permissions to gain access to sensitive information and resources. And the story of this is basically we commonly see in the real world where developers and DevOps teams tend to provide extra privileges than required. This provides attackers more control and privileges than they intended to be. In this scenario, you can leverage the service account bound to the pod to provide a webhook API key access, but using this, attackers gain control over other secrets and resources. So make sure your cluster is up and running and your pods are running, and I'll see you guys then. So to get started with the scenario, we basically need to go out to the website on Kubernetes Goat and just copy the link over there. The goal of the scenario is to find the K8 flag value by gaining access to Kubernetes secret K8 vault API key by exploring the RBAC privileges to complete this scenario. So go over to your attacking machine and just paste in the link, and we get a result back. If you don't get a result back, it's usually because you haven't port forwarded the port. So just do bash access Kubernetes Goat sh, and just check if your pods are running, and you see mine are all running. So go back to the website. Here I just like to do export term. Xterm, this basically gives me like options to clear and stuff. So here we can go back to the website, and we see these hints and spoilers. We see there's a service account here. So we see here there's a service account in the Kubernetes 8 pod, and which is at var run secret Kubernetes service account, and this service account is very important to us to run the RBAC exploit. Go back to the website, and you see here we got the service account and basically add it, and here we have to basically start querying to the API server. So if you just hit that drop down, and there's an accessing Kubernetes API from pod documentation, and this is basically the documentation we're gonna follow. And we don't have a proxy, so we basically need an authentication key token to directly access to the API server. So here it says we need to first export the API server and the service account, namespace, token, and CA cert, and this is the output we should be getting. So first we have to export the API server here. So export API server. This will basically export the environment variable API server, and it's a HTTPS tag // this is another environment variable called Kubernetes. Let's just cat the Kubernetes environment. So it's called Kubernetes. I believe it's called Kubernetes service host, and this we see it's basically an IP address here. It's a 10.96.01. So here what we can do is do export API server, and which we want to be set as the Kubernetes service host. So Kubernetes, type in the environment variable, so Kubernetes service host, and close it off with the brackets. And we basically see it's basically that just the IP address over there. Close it off with the brackets, and we see that is the API server key exported. So now what we can do, we can go back to the website here, and we can go to the documentation. We see here now we have to do the service account, and we already know the service account. It's the directory we're in, and here it also says service account. So go over to our attack machine, export service account, and we basically can just put this as var run secrets Kubernetes and service account. So that's basically the directory we're currently in, and go back into the documentation here. Here now we need the namespace, and this is basically in the service account already. So basically in the directory where the namespace is. So we can just quickly export that too. So what here we can actually cat the namespace to see what it is actually. So we cat the namespace, and you see here it is just that, and now we're exporting the namespace. So cat and the service account, and what this will do is basically want us to cat, it's in the service account directory, and it's called namespace, and that's basically the namespace of. So here we can just click enter, and now we have got that done too. So now just go back to the documentation, and now it's the token. So we do the same for the token too. It's in the same directory, it's in service account directory, and yep. So here now what we do is go back, and we can basically cat token. We see this is basically the token. We need this token if we're not accessing with the proxy. So just delete that and just put in token. Same with the export, the name of it, just put token in it, and make sure it's all capitals too. So that's done, and let's go back to the documentation here, and we see this is the CA cert. This is the reference to the internal certificate authority. So here it's a bit different here. There's no cat, but it basically tells us what the CA cert is for the thing. So we see here we have the CA cert. Let's just cat the CA cert, and we see this is certification here. So we can do the same here. Just delete that and put in, instead of cat the whole service account, we just have to delete the cat and rename the thing. So to CA cert, and basically rename token to CA cert, all capitals. And basically now we have finished everything. Go back to the documentation, and here we finished all of those. So we did all of that, and now it's time to explore the API with the token. So we're curling here with the CA cert. In the header we're using the token, and there obviously the token, and the API server is a server with getting the request from, which is the IP address. So go back to your machine. So just do curl tag. It's tag ca cert, and just put in the ca cert environment variable. Sorry. So that's ca cert, and here now we got to do header. Header. This is authorization with the semicolon, and what this will do is just authorize through the token, authorizing bearer, and the bearer is the token here, the token, and close that off. Now what we can do is basically tag X and get the API server here. So just put the environment variable API server / API, and here we get the result back, and this is very similar to the result we're supposed to get back from. So now from here we can just start experimenting with this stuff, and yeah. So we see here we got the result back, and we see here the API version, there's something called versions v1, so that's probably what we want to go at. So do that and put the v1 at it, and here what we want to actually do is press enter, and we see we get a whole bunch of stuff here. So here what we can basically do now is look through this, and what we can do is get the v1. So we have the v1, and then we want to put secrets at the end to see if there is anything. And we see we got a status failure here. The secret is forbidden for this user, maybe because we haven't switched namespaces yet to where it is actually in, because it says it's in the API group and it's not actually in the cluster scope. So here what we want to do here is put our namespace, then our namespace variable. So type that in and close that off and get the secrets. So we see here we got our result back here, and this is basically basically what happened was I accidentally did it was a typo, and just be very careful when it comes to typos, because they can mess up your whole code request here. So put the extra S on it, and we basically get all the information about the K8's webhook API key here, and basically the K8's Vault API key. So here what we want to do is also try for pods and see if it's working, and basically here we get all the pods available to us in this namespace basically. So we see here we are allowed to run commands without having extra privileges. So here we want to do secrets, and we want to grep the K8's sorry, not that. We want to grep K8's Vault API keys, and this will basically give us our flag, but you see here it's base64 encoded, sorry, and this is basically the thing here. So here what we can do is we can just do echo and the code, and here we get the K8's Goat flag here. So that's basically how we use this RBAC to basically get our flag, and basically from now we can leverage these possible Kubernetes operations, and we can actually delete or create more pods. So that's basically how to use RBAC. with the least privilege misconfiguration, and this is misconfigured for someone to do everything when they're not even supposed to do that. So that's basically the video off for now. So I'll see you guys next time.